Hey, thought find that, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have a special guest. He's the founder of Sunny HQ, a human first WordPress hosting and support that helps business grow. None other than Mr. Dylan Bost.
Hey there, Daniel. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Mr. Dylan on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Sure. Well, I am a husband and father of three beautiful children, and I'm now running a business called Sunny HQ that I developed to really kind of realign with my life goals. That came specifically out of burnout from a business before that I ran for 10 years, a design marketing agency. And I learned a lot during that time and was able to really reinvent not just a business from that, but reinvent really a way of living more joyfully and with purpose. And in the last year, a new endeavor has taken me to in the direction of writing a book. So I'm just celebrated a year of writing, and I'll be finished in the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to bringing that out to the public. It's called The Seven Mirrors, a guide to remembering yourself. So I've got a lot going on.
Wow, congratulations and looking forward for that book, Mr. Dylan. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom today. Thank you. So today let's talk about building a business that gives you your life back. The phrase getting your life back implies something was lost. In your experience, what is the most common sacrifice entrepreneurs make the ultimate leads that feeling and losing their life to their business?
Well, I think it's a separation or a diversion from the personal side, right? We're celebrated so gloriously for our successes in business, right? We're celebrated for moving business forward, for making lots of money, for receiving all the awards. But listen, there's no way that you can, I think, really fully achieve, all of that at without losing part of yourself, without losing your connectivity with your family. It's just not possible unless you really kind of realign. I think you can have both of those things if you go into that same um, into that same endeavor with a focus on what does it mean to be successful to me. And so I think I developed my new business with that alignment in place. It started with very simply looking at, instead of looking at what does it mean to run the business. So when I started the first business, I was probably 30 years old, and went into it with, what are we going to do? What money are we going to make? Who are we going to serve? And that was it. I never asked myself questions like, how much do I want to be involved with this? And that's an important question to ask, and not making the assumption, first of all, that you might assume, well, it's just 40 hours a week. Well, if you're running a business, it's going to be a lot more than that. But even if you don't want to give it, let's say 40 hours a week, let's say that you have life goals, that you have, you want to achieve a better connection in parenting and with your spouse, then those things take time, right? And so I think for me, when I moved into the second business, those played a key role in me deciding, what business can I build that's not at the sacrifice of my wife and kids, or the things that I want to achieve personally. And that's where I think it grew. And if you set a strategy to build a business like that, or even to work in a business like that, right? It doesn't have to be that you do that, but if you decide for yourself, okay, if I'm going to take this job, and you're upfront with yourself about, this is the time involvement that I want to give it. If you don't do that, if you don't set those boundaries, then you're more likely to give and give and give, because the world's going to continue to ask, right? So that the power of the word no is really, really important. Not flagrantly, but right when those boundaries are approached, that you're defining them and that you're clearly moving in a direction that's supportive of both those environments.
Very well said, Mr. Dylan. This concept challenged the classic hustle culture narrative. How do you define the crucial differences between building with discipline and merely grinding yourself into the ground?
Yeah, like I said, the world's going to continue to ask, and so you can either be in a reactionary mode and react to all of those things. There will be a never-ending stream of things for you to attend to. I've been there. When I ran that first business, I had a lot of pride in that. Okay, I'm sitting at the center of this, so that means, and I'm the orchestra leader, right? So I've got the staff and they're working, and now I've got different divisions of that staff, and I'm helping connect the dots between those, and now I've got new clients over here, and I'm constantly in this place of spinning plates, right? But it's not a sustainable way to live, right? And so I think that you've got to continue to challenge yourself. This the hustle culture, it to me is ridiculous. I mean, I think it doesn't mean that if you like to hustle, hustle. But again, I think you've got to really, to be effective in that environment, you got to realize that you've only got an amount of energy in any given moment, in any given day, and you need to define what you want to do with that. Because if even if you say I've got a singular path, I think that, and I find this is a challenge for myself, right? I love the new shiny thing, right? The new, and right now, right, we've got AI, so you can do all these things with AI. But if you ask yourself a question, it's like, for me, for instance, when I'm evaluating a tool, I set some real guide rails for me. Like, I get 15 minutes to explore this. Then I get 7 days to play with this trial, or I'm going to go down this process and this workflow to develop something, and I'm going to give myself a specific length of time. Because if you don't, or if I don't, the reality is it will distract me from other things that need my attention, especially if I'm really not into them, right? Maybe there's, we all have that 20% of our business that we don't love, but we have to do it, right? And so you can easily put those things off, if you're distracted by that never ending stream of things that comes your way.
Never ending stream for sure. Is building a business that gives you your life back primarily about efficiency and systems, or is it more profound shift in identity and success metrics?
Oh man, I think it's both. I think though that at the core is that identity, right? It's like, who am I? Do I value what I do, right? Do I believe? Because that for me was a shifting point when I realized in my first business, before it failed, before all of the things happened that drove that business out. The reality was well before that. Where that started with was definitely with an identity issue. I recognized on paper, everything is, we're making lots of money, we've got a big staff, we've got lots of great clients, and all that was true. But was also, the other thing that was true was that in my heart, I didn't perceive, really, if I asked myself the question, I didn't really believe that there was a lot of value in what we did. I mean, and to be honest, I looked at it and I was like, great, we're doing this marketing for these companies. We're doing this really incredible work. And we were. And I don't want to undervalue that. But existentially, I looked at what will be the value of this in 10 years? Will it mean anything? And this wasn't about ego and from that side of, oh, I want to be known for something. It was like, when I come into work every day and spend 8 to 10 hours, is that changing something for people's lives in any way so that their lives are better? I don't care if they remember me or not. But the point was, I asked myself the question. I was like, in 10 years, no one's going to remember that logo or that brand, or no one's going to remember that website or that video or that commercial. And in reality, that was a tough thing because I had wrapped my entire identity in that company's success. And so if I backed out of it, the reality was, you know, I didn't necessarily believe that we were bringing true, cultural value forward. And so, and it's really irrelevant what you do, right? So, I mean, I look at today, and I could ask myself some of the same questions about the work that we do today in WordPress, hosting and support. The reality is, though, I feel the connectivity. I feel the impact in what we do. I recognize the service that we provide, that, in essence, customers come to us with issues every single day, and we fix those things super fast, and they're really happy and elated because of that. And that I recognize as the value. And so you have to find those connectivities. And if you don't see them, I urge you to do some deep investigation and see, what can I do? What can I shift and change in my life? That may mean a whole new job. It may mean a whole new career, but you'll thank yourself for that, because in reality, I don't think, and from what I experienced, it wasn't sustainable, and it led to burnout.
Well, that is amazing. Mr. Dylan, for someone being completely consumed by the venture, what is the first non negotiable step they must take to even begin reclaiming space?
I think your time. I mean, I think it's really evaluating. This is something I go through all the time, right? As we continually wander through this beautiful world of how to promote ourselves, and the seemingly unlimited number of ways that you can do that. Or on the other side, in operations, as we start to evaluate better ways to optimize what we do to make our people more effective. And I'm really careful there, because um, I'm not into trying to optimize the staff's time to get the most out of them. For me, if what I believe that's about is allowing them to have the most fun in their job. And so that means what systems can we put into place? Um, and on the other side, but when we start to evaluate all of these different things, that we're not running off in a direction. So it's defining a strategy for what we expect to get out of something, and then continuing to test against that, right? So as we work into a new promotion strategy, right, that we define, we don't just jump into it. Okay, well, we need to do search engine optimization today. It's very important, right? We don't just jump into social media advertising or click or whatever it is, but that we're setting a strategy for the company and saying, look, this is what we achieved, this is how it would be successful, this is the budget for it. And then not going to the end of that trail, right? But continually testing against what's happening. And the same thing on the operation side is having guardrails in place so that we can test against what we're doing, so that we learn faster, so that we can pivot if we need to, and essentially end up with a really good solution.
Guardrails indeed. From the start, what architectural choices in a business model, pricing, or client selection most directly determine whether a business will be a prison or a vehicle for freedom?
Well, I think there's some basics to on the business side. That's a big question. Vehicle for freedom. I think that it does start with, to me, solve a real problem. So really ask yourself, if is the service I'm providing, is the product I'm building going to solve a real problem? Um, in the best way. Well, another really important aspect of that is I think choosing something with a reoccurring revenue stream. That's super important, and I think this can be done. It can, even with a lot of tangible products. And you see this now. I mean, what website do we not go to, right, where I'm buying a single item and there's a subscription that's available? That's really, really important. Systematize your business ruthlessly. So that's really go through and and check regularly, not annually, I mean regularly. Is the person that I have in this key role the right person for that to be in that role? um, is this role being consumed by technology, and if so, shift that person into and put technology in its place. On the flip side, is technology really solve this or not? No, it needs a human. Put a human there, but really systematize that and really continue to evaluate that regularly. Prioritize alignment, chiefly important. I think, I continually look at, in an everyday process, or at least weekly, I'm looking at, what are the two things, what are the bottom two things I did this week that I didn't like doing and or I wasn't good at. And especially if those two things are together, right? If I'm not good at it and I didn't like it, those are things that I need to offload to someone else. I need to find someone. And we've got to swallow our pride here. The reality is, especially when you run a business, you cannot do everything. I mean, this is something I believed for a long time. I took on much more responsibility than I needed to. It's important if you want your business to grow, even the role that you have now. The way that I look at it, I'm always looking to replace myself. If I can do that, then the business will do amazing things. And then one last key is listen more than you pitch. It never ceases to amaze me today in business the amount of talking that happens without listening. That leads us into assumptions and wrong paths all the time. If we spend, you know, 10 times more, just minutes listening rather than we do talking, I think most often I find that the problems can be, we can find solutions to problems and issues much faster.
Mm, much faster, yes, indeed. So, Mr. Dylan, how do you strategically decide what to automate, delegate, or delete? What is your framework for identifying the tasks that only you must do?
Oh, well, I mean, I talked a little bit about that. For me, I look at it really simply. I don't know that I necessarily have a framework, as to evaluate it. I look at for the things that I'm doing, and I teach this to the staff. We actually talk about these things. What are the things that you did last week that you did not enjoy doing? If I don't enjoy doing something, if a staff member doesn't, then they're not going to do it to their best ability. So we can find there's someone out there that wants to do everything, right? And so it's a very interesting thing. And then what are the things that you didn't do very well? And by identifying those, we can very easily put different processes in place. We can put technology into place. Something I'm evaluating right now is even with email systems. It's interesting the amount of email there is, not all email, but about for us, for instance, there's kind of a level one triage of email, that is very easily systematized. And I'm working with an AI system right now, for instance, that can actually kind of evaluate email really quickly when it's received and determine whether or not it can reply. And then for months, we're going to try this in a draft mode instead of automatically sending emails, because and I want to highlight this, there's nothing worse to me than dehumanizing this stuff, right? And dehumanizing communications with customers. So I'm looking at this with a very, very careful eye to make sure, is this responding the way that I would respond? And I've spent a lot of time actually putting that into place, actually building a framework or building a signal of what it sounds like to be Dylan, training with the hundreds and thousands of emails. And if that works, the reality is that will increase the ability for us to, because most of our, for instance, those requests come in, and we need clarity up front. So we're simply addressing the person's need. We're saying we're going to be on it, and we're asking for clarity. And that would basically decrease the support time by about 20%. That's a pretty big deal. And so it's things like that where we can look at different operations and say, and then evaluate. But like I said before, we're really careful to, I set guardrails for myself to say, because in that example, I could have run off for hours and days and gotten real excited about and built systems and employed people to build systems. We actually went through that process and just defined a simple set of goals and tested it to see if it would even work. And it did. So we moved to the next step. So we're not devoting hours and hours and hours because there's a trade-off there. So but it is really just carefully selecting those things where they can offer relief from a situation, determining whether or not it's a technology issue or whether it's a protocol or a process issue, and then defining some goals and moving forward.
Yes, defining goals, people. So, speaking of goals, Mr. Dylan, what are your short term and long term goals as a coach, speaker, as well as digital strategy?
Yeah, so on the Sunny HQ side, we're in a heavy growth time right now, and we're looking at some possible acquisition options in the next 2 years, and looking forward to that. And then on the book side, I'll finish the book probably next week. I've got just a couple of things to tighten up, and so the Seven Mirrors will be out to publishers. I'm super excited about that, and then we'll be in a promotion phase for the next 6 months and looking at some speaking opportunities and looking at building out even some kind of online mentoring processes, so that people that are interested in the book can kind of take the ball and run with it.
Good luck to your goals,
Thank you.
Mr. And what would be a piece of advice for those people that don't want to be like you?
Well, I would say don't be like me, be like you. Really easily. I think,
Yes.
um, seek awareness. I often say awareness for me is the best medicine. You cannot begin um, to figure out your life, much less figure out small challenges you've had, unless you want to be aware of what that is, where it came from, how you can work with whether you're having communications issues on your personal side or with clients or with your staff. You have to really be willing to take a look, take a really good look at how you are dealing with situations, especially as leaders. Energetically, it doesn't matter how you think you're coming off. The reality is the people around you are gaining a lot of insight from what they perceive from you. And the best advice I can say is do work on yourself.
Hmm. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Dylan. And in what ways does running a business that gives you life back make you a better leader, partner, parent, and community member?
One word: alignment. Now I am completely satisfied with my business. I'm in the flow when I write. I look forward to communicating more about my book. That sense of fulfillment bleeds through to every part of my working life and my personal life. Because of that and that introspection, I'm a better parent, I'm a better spouse. And I believe I'm a really incredible communicator, and try to really help the people around me and lift them up.
Certainly. So, Mr. Dillon, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and Bob Book 101 review in sixth season too, comedy 101 in fourth season, and of course my food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its fourth season, and of course, my Trivia 101, Motivation 101, Spiritual Awakening 101, Entrepreneurship 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Coaching 101 is my new podcast. And of course, Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Dylan, if this model became the new standard for entrepreneurship, how do you think it will change our broader work culture and economy?
Well, I think everyone would slow down. I think everyone would really start to grasp what it's like more to be a human in that workplace, right? I think that's the biggest thing is we start to recognize the interpersonal connectivity that we have to the people that we work with, and celebrate that. I think getting out of a competition mindset and moving into a collaborative mindset, those are really some of the keys.
Indeed, let's celebrate those milestones. And Mr. Dylan, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever project that you're doing right now?
Yeah, if you're interested in Sunny HQ, just go to sunnyhq.io/podcast. We've got a free download there. It'll help you with your website. And then if you're interested in the book, just head over to my website. It's dylanclaytonbost.com.
Yes, please do come over and book one interview and let's talk about your book, Mr. Dylan. And hoping for the best for that book. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Dylan Bost because if you support him for sure more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. I have one more question, Mr. Dylan, for the solo entrepreneur or freelancer who can afford to get. What is the highest leverage strategies to create breathing room?
To create what?
To create a breathing room.
Breathing. Well, I mean, you said it. It's the breath. I can't stress that enough. The breath is so important for us to take a moment. I do it 10,000 times a day. With intention. The reality is, before you answer that email, before you start that project, take a deep breath and feel in your body what it feels like and what you want that direction to be. Your body will help guide you for sure.
Mr. Dylan Bost, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More time, people. See you